My name is Amanda. I'm one of the registered dietitians with the Stony Brook World Trade Center Health and Wellness Program. Today, we're going to talk about goal setting for successful lifestyle changes in a method that keeps it simple for the new year's, new you, January mentality that we tend to see. So, we're going to focus on easy ways to reduce weight, focusing on overall body recompositioning, right? Loss of muscle, loss of fat mass, maintenance of muscle mass. Um, so, in today's presentation, we're going to start with a couple facts and myths that we tend to hear around here regarding weight loss. We're going to go over what are SMART goals, and that concept will be added throughout the presentation. We'll start with nutrition basics, then flow into exercise basics, goal setting, mindset related topics, and end in a summary and question and answer. So, before we start, we'll start with a couple facts and myths. First is carbohydrates make you gain weight. This is a common one that we see. So, of course, like jot your answer down to yourself and pause for a moment to think about what your answer is. And then, drum roll, the answer is false. That, oh, it's supposed to appear in the animations. It seems like it's not moving forward now. So false, carbohydrates make you gain weight. So it's not so much the carbohydrate itself, just like anything in life, there's balance, and you want to choose better options over not as great or not as frequent, we want to say, options. So here you could see two diagrams depicting what we would call glycemic index. And we'll go further into this. Some carbs are going to be higher in fiber than others, like our fruits, our vegetables, our beans and legumes, our whole grains. They're going to contain fiber, and that's going to slow down digestion, mitigate blood sugar spikes, and help us to feel full. If we're having carbohydrates that are either A, out of a normal quantity in the diet, outside of about 35 to more of an endurance athlete, about 65% of the diet, then yeah, it's going to increase propensity to store weight. But especially if they're, more so refined carbs like sweets, sugar sweetened beverages, white flours, etc. The next myth is the lower I keep my calories, the more successful I will be. And we tend to see this often in January with some members who may be, trying new diets with good intent, understanding that weight loss is a calorie deficit and maybe going way too low, way too restrictive, or avoiding bread altogether, for example, to cut calories down. Sometimes when we see this, we often like to remind individuals that diets fail. It has to be a lifestyle change. You'll see here, this is the vicious diet cycle, right? So we start a new diet. Often we do something extremely restrictive, like maybe a fad diet of some kind that's not befitting of our lifestyle, our needs. Our metabolism drops. And then, oh, sorry, it just moved. Our metabolism will drop in terms of our muscle tends to get burned too quickly. We're not burning fat. And when we burn too much muscle, what happens? We increase our propensity for weight gain because now we're not burning as much at rest. We're feeling deprived. So we tend to go towards things that we tell ourselves no. If I tell myself I can't have ice cream for a month, at the end of the month, I'm going to end up wanting to almost binge on that ice cream. So we have these cravings come in, we binge, then we tend to feel guilty or a sense of failure, and then resume old habits, start to feel uncomfortable again, and then the diet cycle starts again. In order to break this cycle, what we're going to do is what's called SMART goals, and focus on having a lifestyle change that we can maintain throughout the rest of our life versus a short-term 30-day diet fix that we're going to fall off of at the end of the month. So of course,
Amanda,
this
can
is
you hear
false.
us?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay, we are seeing the original slide at the beginning if you wanna jump
Oh,
to the goals, the vicious
yeah.
cycle slide again.
I'm on
Not
that one right now at the moment, so that's why I'm
maybe try
yeah,
unsharing real quick and reshare just to get us back on the right slide.
let's
If
see.
not, you guys can navigate on your own. You can actually just click the navigate button, and it will take you to slide 4, which is where we left off, but not sure what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know why the slideshow doesn't want to present. All right, let me go take control. There we go. All right, now is that better?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. It won't let me do the animations, but I don't have any more animations built in, I think, for the rest of the presentation this way.
Sweet.
So next we're going to go into, if we're not going to do a fad diet now, what are we going to do this January? What's the answer? So those who come to counseling, we tend to format ourselves using SMART goals. They stand for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound goals. So, just a refresher for those who don't know, we offer completely complimentary one on one nutrition counseling here at the World Trade Center Health and Wellness Program with Stony Brook. You don't need any various certifications for this program. You just need a referral from your provider, or you can call us up at the main line, the main number, and get yourself scheduled today. So, during our counseling sessions, many individuals will come to us with the overall overarching goal, or we call an umbrella goal of I want to lose weight. And then we'll do a whole session on what they're eating, go through what their intake is, and we'll point out like three of the biggest things that stick out to us as dietitians why that person might not be losing weight. Now, we want to create actionable steps though. So if that individual is, say, consuming soda every day, an example SMART goal would be picking something specific like the soda, which is a who, what, when, and why object, right? We want to measure it. So we need to know what our baseline is. All right. So if the individual is already having soda daily, can we try to have like a 12-ounce soda daily? So maybe let's measure that and try to cut it down to every other day or a smaller amount of ounces. It's achievable if the person can see themselves saying, all right, it's not realistic for me to cut soda completely out of my diet by the end of the month, but I can see myself cutting it into half or a third of what I was having. So the person has to see it being achievable. They have to be motivated. It has to be relevant to that overarching goal. So if someone's focusing on weight loss, the soda is going to help because it's going to help them to lose weight by decreasing that amount of calories coming in the diet. If we're just talking about herbs and spices, maybe not so much adding herbs and spices to a meal, right? That might help their blood pressure, but not necessarily the weight. So you want it to be relevant to the overarching goal. And then time bound. So there always has to be a little bit of that kind of stress to give us that push to do something, but we don't want some unsurmountable amount of stress that it feels almost crippling. So something that goes back to it being achievable. So typically time bound goals are done in the mindset of nutrition for weekly or monthly, especially in this presentation throughout. So next, we're going to move into wellness basics to start off a new plan. So, we're going to go into basic tips for weight loss and then apply these SMART goals throughout the presentation to keep it simple and also keep it related to us as individuals. So, first, we're going to focus on fostering a calorie deficit. We do need a calorie deficit in order to lose weight. Then we're going to focus on, of course, hydration, eating enough protein so that we feel full and satisfied, focusing in on fiber. So we're eating enough of the right kinds of carbs so that we don't start craving the not so great kinds of carbs. Getting enough rest, because if we're sleep deprived, it can cause us to crave. Actually, those who are sleep deprived tend to eat about 270 calories more per day from saturated fat and sugars. So, sleep plays a large role in cravings, but also growth and repair of tissue and detoxification. We're going to talk about taking more steps and resistance training, as of course it is a calorie deficit, right? We got to foster weight loss. We got to take calories from the diet, but then we also want to try to burn some extra calories and maybe increase muscle mass so that we're burning more just sitting and being alive. And lastly, it is a mindset, which we will get more into. You can't see it as a diet. It's that I'm constantly evolving. I'm trying to be the best version of myself. It's not something that's just a short term fix because 95% of diets fail. Next is creating calorie deficit. So, how are we going to do that? First things first, Katie did a wonderful job, and I think it's something to really highlight. She created a presentation that's on our WTC website, along with all of our past virtual wellness seminars. Uh, it is actually linked to this presentation. So if anybody needs help finding it, we can help you with that. It goes through how an individual can calculate their calorie needs and how much they actually need from a dietitian standpoint. In our one-on-one counseling, we do provide this option for members as well. So first, you got to know how much do I need to take in? And then you got to log and see, maybe even just for a week, especially if you're someone that eats very routine, what you're taking in and maybe where we can pull that from. Easy places tend to be, switching for lean proteins, opting for higher fiber, whole food carbohydrates that make you feel full. So if I'm feeling full off some more vegetables added to my day, and now I'm going to get more vitamins and minerals and fiber, I'm likely to feel full. So that I'm not going to go for that extra serving of, say, starch or protein with my meal. The Lose It app, MyFitnessPal, Fitbit, Chronometer, these are great applications for tracking your calories. And the more you use it, the easier they become because it'll store your search history. So you're just plugging in what you ate and you're seeing your totals. We have to understand that it may seem simple, but energy balance, there's a lot of different factors that go into it, like our appetite, if we're sleep deprived, our exercise, food availability, our emotions in food. So it is important to talk these out and reflect upon your intake. If it is a day that you go maybe above where you want it to be, reflect back. It's not something to maybe shut down about, but to say, all right, where could I have done better, in the past? Could I have maybe done a little more egg whites versus whole eggs just to cut some calories and put some vegetables in there to feel full? Can I do a lower fat cheese, for example, or a low fat dairy just to cut some calories down? Focus on eating slower so that we maintain a smaller portion size. Those are just a few easier tips. And there's more where that comes from. Of course, we want to get into strength training, cardiovascular work to help burn some more calories. And always the name of the game to make sure that you're not in too much of a deficit is to facilitate about a half a pound to 2 pounds lost per week. Often I see people restrict calories too much, that the body becomes somewhat what you call thrifty, in that it's going to hold on to the calories in fear that maybe we're in a famine or a starvation state. And that's when we drop our metabolic rate, likely burning muscle instead of fat tissue. So that's just a tell. So if someone's losing more than a half a pound to 2 pounds per week, they're likely burning muscle, losing weight too quickly, and are likely to regain the weight back because they're likely doing something that is restrictive or depriving that they cannot maintain in the long haul. So it's just a flag to keep out for yourself. And if you are in the process of losing weight, even on your own, and you just have a few questions, you can always give us a call. Our Tanita body composition scale also calculates your basal metabolic rate for you, which is just how many calories you need to lay in bed and stay alive, not even to calculate what it means to digest your food. So you would just multiply an activity factor by that. And you can also see that information in the how to calculate your calories video um, attached to this presentation. So an example SMART goal for ways to cut our calories would be log food intake for 1 week in the Lose It app, right? It's realistic, it's time bound, it's measurable, it's actionable, and that it's something that you're in control of. If I was just to say lose weight, that's not, what am I going to do with that? Another one could be to create a 300 calorie. Yeah. Oh, I just kindly ask that anybody who is not muted at this moment to please mute their account. So another one could be an example of, a 300 calorie deficit per day by replacing soda with water. That's an actionable step, for example. Next is staying hydrated. So you always want to keep a water bottle in hand. Check. It's you keep it in sight, you keep it in mind. Water tends to be seen as that easy one-off goal, but somehow many don't do it. It's so important because your hypothalamus is what tells you I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm tired. And sometimes those cues get a little crossed, right? Do I need food? I'm tired, or do I just need a cat nap? Same thing happens with water, in that if my body is dehydrated, it doesn't care if I get water from vegetables or if I'm sipping out of a cup. It just wants water. So my body could be sending me all these cues, eat, 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 when really I'm just dehydrated. I need to drink up. That's part of how it helps. Also, it does take up a little bit of space, especially when mixed with protein and fat and fiber in the gut. So it's going to take up a volume in the stomach, make you feel more full, potentially help with slowing down digestion and maintaining a smaller portion size. But then water actually helps you to burn more calories just being alive, because your metabolism a lot takes place in an aqueous solution and you need water to be able to run a lot of these metabolic activities. So if you don't have the water, your metabolism's not going to really run as much. Those are just three examples of why you need water for weight loss. The fourth is that we excrete water through sweat, through urine, and we breathe it out. It comes out as we excrete fat as water vapor through respiration, through sweating it out, and urinating it out. So if we're dehydrated, your body's not going to break down the fat and pass it through the body. So it's really important to aim for the right sources of beverages. You want to aim for zero sugar beverages as much as possible to reduce risk for diabetes, especially. Plain water sometimes cannot be so fun, and I understand that. So we do have other options to recommend, like flavored seltzers, unsweetened tea. Even if you add a little stevia and lemon juice to that, that would be fine. Coffee up to about 16 ounces per day can count towards your fluid needs. And coffee is an appetite suppressant. So sometimes that helps people, sometimes that harms people. It's good to know it's an appetite suppressant, though. Um, Also electrolyte infused water. So you can do different fruit and herbs in your water, or there's different products like Ultima. You just want to make sure when you're looking at this electrolyte infused water that the sodium is not too high and the sugar is not too high, especially because we're not using it for the intended purpose when we're profusely sweating working out. It's more just being used as a flavor. And these tend to be less processed than like the Mios and the Powerade drops that you guys tend to see that has a lot of those artificial sweeteners like potassium benzoate in it, for example. That's not so great for our kidneys. So Ultima, I would plug as my favorite water flavoring electrolyte enhancer. So next is how am I going to increase this water in my diet? Right. So if I know I set a baseline, I'm drinking, say, 32 ounces a day. I'm really trying to get to that 64 fluid ounces. Maybe that's too much of a long-term goal for me right now, right? So maybe I want to set a goal of, within a week, getting from 32 ounces to 48 ounces. Let's be realistic, right? And with the long-term intention of getting to 64. So setting a goal, knowing where you're starting is the first thing. You can try to replace other drinks with water. uh, Set intentions, so habit stack. If you tend to have breakfast every morning, or you're waiting for your cup of coffee to brew in the morning, maybe leaving a bottle of water out by the coffee machine as almost a reminder. I need to drink this before I have my morning cup of coffee. So I already have a quick 16 ounces in the bank. Done. That's going to contribute to increasing water intake. Or maybe loop it in with different medications or supplements that you already have a set routine for. Like we said, flavor the water. We always joke around that's our emotional support water bottle. It's just if you're going places, like if my patients walk in the room and they don't have a water bottle, I almost assume they're not drinking as much as they're telling me. Because if you're not taking it places with you, when are you really getting it in? That's when I ask the question, and then I get, their actual response. And 9 times out of 10, I'm correct that they're not drinking as much as they should be because it's just not a part of their routine, a part of their schedule. They get busy, they get tunnel vision on other things, and it's not there. It's another step they have to take. So keeping it on hand is so, so, so important. Um, Drink out of a marked tumbler can help too. There's different ones on Amazon that have different timestamps. So that's also a reminder. If you're someone who likes to get it from an app, getting different notifications to show up on your phone, you could check out the Made For app or the Waterminder app. And then always as the last lines of defense, there's a water bottle called Hydrate Spark. It's actually really cool. I just think it's a little excessive unless someone really needs it. It actually will blink the water bottle itself to remind you to drink. And every time you kind of pick it up and you take the water, there's a sensor in it and it tracks how much water you're drinking for you. And it's connected to an app. So that's usually a fail safe solution. So these are just some tips to increase your water intake. A SMART goal example, and you see I have like a stamped water bottle on there just as an example too, is to increase water intake to 64 fluid ounces per day by keeping a water bottle on hand throughout the day. So again, it's an actionable, measurable, realistic, and time-bound task that has a focus on water. What are we focusing towards? Um, Next is our protein intake. So protein is touted often as like this golden macronutrient, and it is. It's great, but so are carbs, so is protein, so is water, so are fiber. So is fiber. So protein is great for weight alleviation or body recompositioning because your muscle needs protein to grow, right? And we need to make sure we have adequate protein in our diet. One, to make us feel full and satisfied, helps to keep our blood sugars nice and even keel. We should try to have protein at every meal or snack between about 20 and 35 grams per meal. It depends on the individual. So I do ask, if you do have specific questions, you can reach out to us and we can calculate your nutrient needs during your nutrition counseling appointment. That is not a problem. But yes, you want to keep protein in throughout the day, so it keeps you full, and then your body is getting that steady supply of protein. So if you're in too much of a calorie deficit, specifically in too much of a protein deficit, your body can't make protein from carbs. Your body can't make protein from fat. Your body can make carbs from protein, and your body can make fat from protein, and your body can make carbs from fat and fat from carbs, but not unless it's protein, nothing else is going to make protein. So you need to get it in your diet. Now, with that being said, if you're in a calorie deficit, but then you're eating the right amount of protein and, of course, doing exercise, it should help to maintain your muscle mass while you lose fat mass, right? If that's the overarching goal. Your muscle is important because your muscle contains mitochondria. It's going to keep your metabolism revved and going. This is a pound of fat. This has no mitochondria. This burns no calories for you. So if your tissue is more muscle, you're burning more calories just being alive, and that's going to help with facilitating a calorie deficit in the long term. So that's a big reason why you want to emphasize protein, but then it also makes you feel full, quelch cravings, and then keep this, being a more consistent regimen for the individual. However, more is not always better. We can't just have, large sums of protein. It is still calories in, calories out. So we do have to factor that. We also want to factor what tends to come with protein, fat, right? So often my patients who are tracking their macros and their how much protein, how much carbs, how much fat they're taking, a common question is, how do I get the fat down while I'm trying to get the protein up? You want to aim for proteins that swim, fly, or grow from the ground. Those are going to be leaner sources of proteins, and typically that fat that tends to get tacked with it is from an animal and can typically be a saturated fat. So doing this is also good for heart health, and it's just lowering calories too, right? We're facilitating a calorie deficit. When making your plate, ideally it's about 1/4 of the plate. And we get a lot of questions about protein, nutrient timing throughout the day. The first goal is, of course, to try to make sure you're getting enough protein. That is most important. That's great if someone eats protein after their workout, but if they're not eating protein the rest of the day, it doesn't really matter, right? So then first you focus on getting total in. And then if someone's checked, done, I'm getting 100 grams in per day, that's what I need, perfect, I'm happy. Then you want to look at distribution, right? You can only absorb so much in a setting, right? So you want to focus on getting that between 20 and 35 grams, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, a nice spread. So you're going to be able to digest and absorb more of that at the same time. And then you can focus on protein quality, right? Animal versus plant protein versus am I getting enough of the branched chain amino acids? But first, of course, is getting your total. When you see this little pie slice on the left hand side of my screen that says protein with a blue, a yellow, and then like a salmony, orangey, reddish color in the center, that's just a quick snippet of something similar to our bullseye food guide, showing the ones closer to the center are the ones that you want to have more of, right? Like beans, lentil, tofu. Yes, soy is not bad for men and women when consumed in moderate amounts. Fish, chicken, turkey, egg whites, tempeh, more of those plant-based proteins are going to be consumed more routinely. And then you'll notice more of like beef and pork, like those red meats and higher fat cheeses consumed not as routine, um, especially when trying to forge a calorie deficit. Okay, so next, if I'm trying to get more protein in my diet, if I know that that's something that I need to do for my goals, an example SMART goal would be consume 2 protein-rich snacks per day, like tuna fish, like the little star kissed, like lemon pepper packages with some nut thins crackers are great. Low-fat cheese stick with an apple, per se. Edamame could be steamed or dried. It's pretty pretty flexible. Shrimp cocktail, you could do turkey with a little cheese rolled up, dipped with some hummus, maybe some peppers in the center. That would just be a good balanced high protein snack as an example. And that's something you could track. Did I eat my protein rich snack today? Yes or no? After protein, we want to touch on fiber, right? So we touched a bit on carbs. And one of the big distinguishers between carbs you want to have more frequently and carbs you want to have not as frequently. Oh, the PowerPoint ghost is taking over again. So I'm sorry if it changed. Can you guys see the slide on fiber right now?
It took us back to protein.
It did, right? Okay, it wasn't just me. Now are you back on fiber though?
No.
No. I'm on fiber. Let me go back out and in. Hold on.
Now I'm on fiber.
Now
Now
you're
you're
on.
on sugar, starches, and overall carbs. Oh my.
No, I'm not even on that. That's so funny. All right. Now I'm on fiber. I just clicked back and forth just to see if it would change it. Did that help?
No.
No. All right. I don't know what's possessed with this thing today.
I'm just using the arrows.
Yeah,
See,
we can follow along with the arrows too. So if everyone wants just to click to slide 14 on fiber, and then we'll just follow along from there, maybe.
That's super helpful. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. So fiber, right? It should be displayed on each of your screens. So fiber is what's called an indigestible plant material. So our body, we break it down mechanically, but we don't absorb it. It just passes from mouth to the other end, right? It goes from end to end. Who does break it down is the bugs in our gut, right? So the more fiber we have, it's going to be better for our gut microbiome. But that we're not talking about gut health today. We're talking about weight loss. So foods that are high in fiber tend to be lower in calories. Think of like vegetables and fruit. So you feel more full off that fiber. That fiber can bind in what you call the bolus, which is all our chewed up food in our stomach. Will bind with the protein, the fat, and the water, and it slows down digestion and mitigates blood sugar spikes. These foods are great to focus on because they tend to be foods that most Americans do not get enough of in the diet. And it helps with smart goal planning if you're like, all right, I'm focusing on trying to get 2 servings of nuts in per day, or I'm focusing on getting 2 servings of fruit per day, 3 servings of vegetables per day. So it's a positive goal, and you're focusing on what to add that's going to fill you up versus I'm going to stay away from sugar. Inherently, if you're getting enough of those good carbs, and especially if you're one of those individuals that might not be getting enough calories, might be in too much of a deficit, and you're not getting enough carbs overall, those are the individuals who tend to be craving sweets at night. So focusing on the positive end of the healthier carbs may help curb evening snacking for the individual. And of course, like if we need motivation, here we go. Why do I care? It's good for our heart health, our blood sugars, our bowel movements, our longevity, you name it. So, and it's also good at helping to reduce risk for various cancers as well, especially colon cancer. So get your fiber in. So, carbohydrates are important when it comes to losing weight. Like we were showing before, you want to aim for carbs that are more on that higher fiber end, where you see the apple, the string beans, and the beans, and less of that refined end on the right hand side. That will help to ensure you could potentially be fostering a calorie deficit as well. So it's the same as with the protein. You're going to see foods to have more of in the middle of that pie slice, and as you move out towards the yellow and the blue, it's foods to have more as a social occasion per se. So vegetables, for example, eating more fruits and vegetables tends to be a really big sticking point within our counseling. So ways to help to increase more of these fruits and vegetables, we can keep fruits and vegetables in sight, in mind. So having them pre-cut or in a bowl on the counter, or having them pre-cut in the refrigerator. The presentation just jumped off the screen. So 1 second. I think it's possessed today, guys. I really do. Let me do share screen.
I was gonna say, if you want, I can just share my screen and you can tell me when to fast forward if you want.
Let me see if I just did it a different route.
Okay.
I'm fast forwarding through to where we were just now. It keeps changing automatically like a phantom. It's funny.
Maybe because the animations or something. Oh, good.
Who knows?
Alright.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it
So we're
takes you guys
seeing
to where
you
I'm
toggle through on 8, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, sleep. Yeah.
perfect. It's
Let's
just a
jump
little
to the
slow. So,
yeah, we're
yeah.
at 30 minutes anyway, so
Perfect. So, all right. So you guys see ways to increase your vegetable intake. Make it a meal. Eat the rainbow. Explore new produce and on the produce aisle. Add it to soup, salads, stir fries, and sides, etc. But most importantly is planning for it. If we don't put time reserved for it, attention reserved for it, we're not going to likely do it, right? So a goal would be to make it an intention is to increase non-starchy vegetables to at least one serving per day by having a vegetable at dinner. That's something easy to focus on, easy to plan towards your meal planning and your grocery shopping. If someone is the type that says, you know what, Amanda, I hear you, I get what you're saying, I'm not going to increase my vegetables. All right, so be it. So at least let's make it a goal to take a fiber supplement daily, right? Or consume fruit at breakfast 3 days per week, for example. So it's easy and measurable to track. Sleep is important for weight loss as well because sleep impacts our brain health. It reduces our risk for heart disease and diabetes. It reduces our stress, improves our mood, and can help potentially those suffering from depression. The way that sleep impacts our nutrition is that we tend to get inadequate sleep. It can put us in a not so great mood, or like we were saying earlier, it affects our hypothalamus and that we tend to end up craving maybe more fat and sugar. So then it can put us at a greater risk for snacking. Also, it increases our ghrelin hormone. Think ghrelin, ghrelin. Leptin is the other hormone that makes you feel full. So your body is actually hormonally going to be more in search of food. Of course, it increases our cortisol hormone. So cortisol is going to increase production of sugar and the likelihood of storage on the midsection of the waist circumference. And it can reduce our human growth hormone, aka our ability to maintain our muscle or grow our muscle. So without going further in depth, it's just really important that you're getting about 7 to 9 hours or as much sleep as you possibly can get towards that recommendation to assist in the weight alleviation. So more so actionable steps to move forward. The 8-3-2-1 method. So stop drinking caffeine 8 hours before bed, or I think it's easier sometimes just to set a time goal of, no caffeine after, 2 p.m., right? I have 1 to 2 cups of coffee, done. Aim to stop eating 3 hours before bed so that your blood sugar isn't spiking too high. It allows you to get that deeper level of sleep and your body can go through more of that growth and repair to enable the weight loss. Aim to stop drinking 2 hours before bed, more so because if we're drinking more, we're going to have to wake up to use the restroom and that's going to disturb our sleep. Reduce stress and blue light 1 hour before bed. So maybe I'm not going to watch Game of Thrones right before I go to bed. Maybe I'll watch that another time, or maybe I need like a de-stress in between. Or for those who are watching very stressful news hours before going to bed, that's something to consider. The blue light really gets emitted from screens. There are different blue light glasses, but maybe the best thing would be to shut off the screen and read a book for 15 minutes to help ease us into sleep. And then, of course, hit snooze 0 times would be the goal. So there's plenty more where these sleep tips come from if you catch yourself being a shift worker or someone who has sleep apnea or someone in general who just has difficulty sleeping. Katie did a whole presentation on this and I have it cited at the bottom. I just took some big key takeaways from that. These can be really great ideas for goal setting if you catch yourself in this category. So some examples for smart goal setting for sleep would be read a book 15 minutes before bed, at least every other day if this is something new to someone's routine, or if someone catches themselves binging on sweets at night in front of the TV, that's causing their blood sugars to spike and making them more hyperactive and harder to fall back asleep. Maybe replacing that snack with a more optimized snack. So notice I didn't say just cut out the snack and deprive yourself and stick your head in a hole and pretend that you're not even going to have that. It's not as realistic. First, you want to try to sub with a healthier snack item or sub if it's an emotional eating piece with another actionable task like folding laundry, doing a crossword or a Sudoku puzzle, for example. Next would be steps. So step by step, why do we want to increase our steps? It's going to assist in calorie burn, preserve our lean muscle mass as we're in this calorie deficit, reduce belly fat, releases endorphins, so it makes us happy and feel good. That's just in general with exercise. And of course, we're going to be pumping our heart and burning sugar, so it's going to reduce our risk for heart disease and diabetes. So getting your steps in is important, more so not just for the calorie burn, but also for cardiometabolic health as well. How am I going to increase my step? So first we have to become activity minded, right? Keep conscious of your movement, keep conscious of your day-to-day routine of what you tend to do, and know when I know that days I go into work, I'm going to get, about 2,000 steps in the morning, getting ready, getting out the door, walking into work versus a day off, for example. So just becoming activity minded of what your baseline is. If you know you get 6,000, say, steps a day, then the goal would be to try to add, realistically 2 to 3,000 steps within the next, say, month would be a goal. So long as we're cleared for exercise by our provider, of course. So we got to make it a priority. We have to make time. If we don't schedule it and block it out in our schedule, it's not going to be as easy to occur. So plan it like you would an appointment with your doctor. Write it out, set the time aside. Uh, Consider movement when making plans with friends and loved ones. So I used to be a person that was reactive to other people around me and be, oh, all my friends, they want to go and just they only want to go out to eat, or they only want to go sit at the movies. So then, you know what? I started to have to be the vector of change and, be that positive influence to say, hey guys, maybe instead of sitting for 3 hours at a movie, obviously not phrase it like this, maybe let's try to go for a nice walk down in Northport together, or do we want to take the dogs for a walk together, or go explore this new park or this new they're having something at Heckscher, like a craft fair, to go walk around, right? Becoming conscious of your step budget, essentially. Taking the stairs, of course, is a no-brainer. Planning time with your children or your grandkids to get involved in movement. So maybe, playing a game with them outdoors when you're watching them, or even indoors. Heck, walking the dog, setting an appointment with the dog, once in the morning for 10 minutes. 10 minutes is better than nothing. Parking further away, making it a healthy competition with loved ones or even just oneself. And if even getting the steps is a little out of sight right now, something to note is that standing will require 20% more energy than just sitting alone. So can I just adapt certain things that I do to involve standing so that I can involve a little bit more of a calorie deficit? An example would be, simply just track steps daily for a week, wear a Fitbit. That's a goal achieved. That's a step in the right direction. And then from there, increase steps 2 to 3,000 above baseline by completing a morning walk 4 times per week. So that's actionable. It's trackable. You could have a little magnet on your refrigerator that you just do little tallies, day one, check. All right, I did Sunday, but I didn't do Monday. Didn't get a tally, and so forth. You keep building it from there. Resistance training is essential. So, resistance training increases muscular strength by making your muscles work against force. So, it doesn't have to be the cliche resistance training that we tend to see in gyms by having to do barbell training or dumbbell training. Although that's good, you have to look at what's best for you as an individual. And of course, speaking with your doctor is important, but considering body weight, activities, even at home if we're getting started. Resistance bands, light weights, dumbbells, kettlebells, or the weighted machines. Beginners should try to weight train about 2 to 3 times per week. I'm always super ecstatic when my members are going twice a week, even for 20 minutes just to do some upper body movements. It's still something being burned versus having nothing in its place, for example. And that goes towards preserving your muscle mass or even building upon it. And then, therefore, you're going to burn more just to sustain that tissue to be alive and need more calories to function. So that's the win. The benefits of resistance training is that you're going to burn more calories while working out, being alive, recovering. It's going to help you to be able to eat more calories without gaining body fat. And it tends to also help us to be able to walk at 90, right? Because if we atrophy about 10% of our muscle every 10 years, this is where that myth that we gain weight just because we're older comes from. It's really because of muscle atrophy. So if you're on top of your muscle atrophy, then you're going to be likely on top of your basal metabolic rate. And your metabolic rate isn't going to drop as much. We do have to factor for hormone change as we get older, but at least the musculature can be hopefully somewhat controllable, not confining for injuries. It also can help, with stamina. We want to be able to walk and run around at 90. So it's extremely important, and we want to be able to take our groceries in, sit and stand from the chair, pick up our grandkids. So resistance training gives us that benefit. So this goes into more of on why we focus so much more on the recompositioning, not just blatant weight loss. Um, while weight loss focuses on losing fat and seeing the number on the scale trend downward, body recomposition refers to the change in the body's ratio from fat to muscle, for example. So we do want to see a general weight loss of about 5 to 10% in our patients who do come in, because it's going to help with our blood sugars if they're altered, our blood pressure, our cholesterol, for example. But we want to try to make sure that as much of that weight as possible comes from fat. The goal is to lose a half a pound to 2 pounds per week. And muscle utilizes, like we've been saying, more calories to function, and it helps you to oxidize more fat, so therefore burn more fat. And it burns about 4.5 to 7 calories per pound per day. So versus having that 5 pounds of fat that you see here on the right hand side versus 5 pounds of muscle, that's going to be about, let's see, 25 pounds, just 25 calories per day extra burned using that equation from just that extra 5 pounds of muscle. And then 1 pound of fat will take up, 1 pound of muscle will take up less space than fat, of course. So it's much more dense on the body. But you don't want to demonize fat. We do want to have about, about 20-25%, just to average men and women right now, for generality's sake. We need it for cushion for catastrophe. So if we get really sick, it helps to store energy, it insulates and keeps us warm, but also fat stores our vitamins like A, D, E, and K. So it's not that we want no fat, we just want to try to reduce it to healthy levels. If for those who do come into our WTC nutrition appointments, this is an example of a body composition analysis sheet that you might be able to see. So you'll see that we do percent fat, fat mass, muscle mass. The bone you do want to disregard, unfortunately. But if you go down to the right green box, the top green box in the center, you'll see how it says 1,190 kcal. It calculates your basal metabolic rate for you. And we could see exactly as you go down further where someone's redistributing. So if you're gaining muscle in certain places or fat certain places, we can see your transition. So it's just something interesting to take note of. An example SMART goal would be to resistance train at the gym at least 2 times per week. That's something trackable even in your gym app. You could say, okay, I can look in my app and say, I went on Monday and I went on Tuesday. Easy to keep note of. And overall, the goal is to lose 5% total body weight, but you'd want to focus on, the actionable steps. Some special notes before we depart is you can't walk the path to your goals while dragging your old habits behind you. And I really like this because we kind of have to make compromises with ourselves sometimes of what we're willing to do and what we're not willing to do. For example, going out with friends. I love going out with friends and going out to eat. So maybe I'm not going to do a lot of takeout during the week, and I'm going to make my social splurges more with loved ones and friends, versus saying, I always get takeout on Tuesdays. I don't know if I'm going to budge from that. What gets planned gets prioritized. Carter Goodhead said this. So everyone always wants to willpower through things, and willpower cannot get you through alone. If you're not planning it, setting the intention, putting pen to paper, it's not likely to happen because you can't hope that the right option is just going to be around in the moment. So if you're bringing the food you need or setting the appointments with oneself to exercise, then you're helping to ensure that you're going to prioritize it and do it and achieve it. If something ain't broke, don't fix it. I often see this with individuals. They're doing good. They're on a plan. They're keeping it simple by focusing on eating their vegetables, following a Mediterranean diet, exercising. They're losing the weight, but they just want to lose a little bit faster. And then they go towards shiny objects like some weight loss program of just shakes and no food. And yeah, they'll lose the weight, but then they totally blew it out of proportion, and then they're gonna lose a lot of muscle, and it didn't really help them much to begin with, because then they'll probably gain that weight back and then some. A watched pot never boils. So this is more out of caution for the individuals who have to weigh themselves on the scale every day. Um, if you're just watching the number on the scale, that's not really going to take any action, right? We got to focus on what we're actually doing that's going to contribute to that number on the scale. The number will happen, it comes with it, but you got to focus on the task that you're doing. Um, Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So, say I messed up and I really was supposed to go to the gym today and I just didn't go. Well, I better make sure I go tomorrow. Try to avoid missing goals, twice in a row, for example. And then, of course, you got to enjoy the process. You got to enjoy what you're doing. You got to like the foods you're having. You got to like the exercise you're getting in, the people that you're around, because you want this to be a lifestyle, not something that you're just going to muscle through and hope sticks. Because I tell you, it makes it hard. Um, Considerations moving forward is, what's my why? Why do I even want to do this? When I ask people, why are you coming in for nutrition? I want to lose weight. That's awesome. But like, why? Why do you want to lose weight? Oh, I want to run around with my grandkids. I want my labs to normalize so I, feel better and I'm sleeping better. And I want to get weight off my joints so that I'm not having the pain in my knees upon every step, for example, taking it that step deeper, because when you have a why, that's going to push you through the hard parts. This is not easy. There's going to be moments that things come together no problem, and there's going to be moments that are tough, that like the past holiday season, maybe for some people. When you have a greater reason beyond yourself, it does help you to stick to it and stay motivated. Of course, like we keep saying, can I see myself eating and drinking this way the rest of my life? um, Set milestone goals. So if my goal was to lose 50 pounds, that can somewhat sound like an unsurmountable task, even though it's not, right? You want to set the goal first to be, let me lose the first 5 pounds, then the next five, then the next five, then the next five. So you're just focusing on the short term actionable steps that are going to contribute to the 5 pounds, for example. It's easier to keep motivated and to celebrate each of those 5 pound wins versus just celebrating that 150-pound win at the very end. Creating awareness, you got to know what you're eating. You should know what your routines are. If you don't have a routine, we should start to formulate one. You have to have awareness around your steps, or whatever goal is that you're choosing to set forth on. You need to have awareness of what you're actually doing. And lastly, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. If we're not setting ourselves up for success by having maybe a friend to meet at the gym, or an exercise plan or appointment, or a menu for the week, or even just getting our groceries for the week, or packing snacks for the road, you're hoping that the obesogenic environment around you is going to save you, and it's not. Very honest. So after this presentation, you're probably like, there's so many things I want to do, or there's so many things I'm already doing. What am I going to focus on? So maybe picking two things from this slide could help. Like, maybe track your calorie intake for 1 week in the Lose It app, and maybe focus on eating at least one serving of vegetables per day. You don't really want to focus on like 5 or 6 or 7 million goals. Focus on 2 to 3 goals that you could see yourself realistically achieving within a month, and then reevaluate and build from there. Break it into small pieces and keep it simple. Does anybody have any questions for me? No. All right, wonderful, guys. I just want to say thank you for your time and attention today. And oh, hello.
I just want to say thanks, Amanda.
Oh, of course. Anytime. It's my pleasure. And you guys know we're always a phone call away or a shout away if you ever need anything. So please, set up a nutrition appointment if you don't have one already, if you're struggling especially, or even if you just need a phone call to touch base, we're always here for you guys.
And if anybody is having trouble accessing any of the embedded links or would like, this, just email me. You guys got the invite from me, so just let me know. It's Katie.
Excellent, guys. Excellent, guys. All right. Well, you're going to see this up on the website if you Google Stony Brook WTC, you'll see our main WTC website. we're under nutrition services.
You should
All
just
of
show
our
them.
Oh yeah, let
You
me
have
just
it
show you
up.
guys now. I have it now. Let's do it. All right. So this is literally what I do. I go Stony Brook, WTC, easy, and then I go to the main website. Under member resources, I click nutrition resources. And you could see, of course, information on our one-on-one counseling, our nutrition education materials, we do lab work reviews. But this is what, for example, you participated in today, our monthly nutrition virtual wellness seminar. There's the calendar for the entire year. We can register, or you click here to register for all events if you haven't done so already. So you can get nice reminders put up on your computer to your phone for the next one, because Katie's going to be doing 10 tips for cancer prevention next month on the 8th at 2. And then typically you'll see all of our past virtual wellness seminars here if you ever want to view them or listen to them like a podcast in the car, and a hidden link that no one ever
Or while
notices.
you're going for a walk outside, listen to Amanda's voice.
The last one is this link up here gets skipped all the time, and it's really a good link, so I just don't want people to miss it. So you press this link, it takes you to our dietitian made website, and it's a bit under construction, but the meat is there. A whole course on the Mediterranean pattern of eating, and we help you guys with goal setting to break it apart. If coming in or doing virtual nutrition counseling, maybe we're not ready for just yet, this is another tool that's also good. But I'm gonna stop chewing your ears off now, all right, guys? But
Thank
I'm really
you, Amanda. Great job.
Anytime. Thank you. I'm grateful for you guys for coming. We'll see you next month, and you'll see this on the website within the week. And have a fabulous start to your new year.
You too.
Thank you. Bye, guys.